Hey everybody, it's Funny once again. I hope you're doing well. If you're a frequent viewer of the channel, sorry this is going to be a bit of a weird episode. I hope you'll indulge me. If this is the first video of mine you've seen, I do a video blog of sorts called Rambling About, where I talk about different pieces of electronic music hardware mostly, but I love to make episodes from time to time on other, sometimes completely unrelated things. So, enter Juno 2007. I don't know if I need a prop to hold up, I guess, but anyway, Juno is my favorite movie. The setting and the soundtrack are amazing. Its story is very compelling. The tone is impeccable. It's warm. It's awkward, it's funny, it's sad and uplifting, and somehow it threads the needle between all of these different emotions and has like a wide palette, I guess you could say, without ever feeling forced or stuttered or misplaced or jarring. And every time I rewatch it, as I get older as well, I resonate with something new that I didn't the previous 20 watches. Over time, there are some big changes in how I viewed the characters I'll talk about later, but there's also just like, every time you rewatch it, you notice different things about people's behavior at different ages in your life, where you're like, oh yeah, remember that, and I'll talk about that later as well. But first off, local pride. So whenever I'm recommending this movie to other people, I'm always just like, there's so much Vancouver in it, and I know that probably isn't as interesting to other people who aren't from here. Plays into a lot of the reason why it's so nostalgic for me, but some of these spots are in Port Coquitlam, which is a Vancouver suburb where I grew up. The very first scene at the convenience store with Dwight from The Office, of all people, forgive me, I don't remember the actor's name, but that was at the Hub, rest in peace, in Port Coquitlam, and I was like, I've been there. I remember going there from time to time when this movie came out, which is crazy. But there's also Milk and Honey in Port Coquitlam, rest in peace as well. That scene stargazing on the minivan where she's looking up, I think she's eating licorice or something, I can't remember, but I remember the scene which apparently they shot after the rest of the movie was done, where Juno's driving down like on the farmlands in South Surrey, which is another Vancouver suburb, and just pulls over and starts having a breakdown. This was after the movie came out, but I remember when I crashed my mom's car at Juno's age in South Surrey, I remember pulling over essentially like at the same exact spot basically, and crashing out myself, which I was probably aware of at that time. 20 years on now, it's this whole other level of nostalgia, right? There's the Women Now Medical Clinic in Burnaby, which is now a Starbucks, Coquitlam Center, where I frequented all the time growing up when this movie came out. Langley schools, houses around Vancouver and Surrey, all dressed up to be Minnesota. It's just like, I had to look it up when I was writing this video, where it was even supposed to be, because in my mind it just took place at home, right? It was just in Vancouver. So yeah, when I watch it, maybe you will too. It's just this time capsule of like the financial crisis and nostalgia overload for that time and that place. So a little bit of background on why I think this is just such a special movie. One thing I love about it is it was written by Diablo Cody, who at that time, and obviously Juno would change all of that, Diablo Cody wasn't really part of the movie industry at all. She wrote a blog sharing candid stories about her life as a stripper, and then later a memoir about it where she kind of gained some notoriety. So basically someone coming in from the outside and winning an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay on their first attempt. And it was shot on a super small budget too, less than half of the other Michael Cera film, which is super bad, and became a massive success, right? I don't have any context really for how up on this movie is. Like, I'm not a critic. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't keep up on how this movie is regarded. Maybe people love it. Obviously, it won awards and stuff, but I'll just speak to what I love about it. And what I love is really like the tone, I guess. I don't want to say vibe. Don't make me say vibe. But like the feel of it. It's warm. It's sad. It's funny. It'll make you cry. Every time I rewatch this, I cry. I do want to sort of ask on that note, if there's any younger people or people who are younger than me who weren't around when this came out, I guess, do you feel nostalgia for it, or do you feel the writing is like super cagey? And according to my YouTube metrics, that's going to be absolutely 0 of you. But rewatching this, I'm curious if it's like eye-rolling, like, I don't know, random XD, millennial trash, or is it as timeless as I'd like to think it is. Anyway, sorry for the tangent, but to me, Juno nails the tone. It's warm, it's not too corny, it's sad, but it's not too depressing. It's funny without being superly try-hard, and except where it intentionally portrays the characters as being too try-hard. The dialogue just feels natural, the pacing feels natural, it never loses the emotional weight, even when it's funny, like I said. It can shift from jokes about like orange Tic Tacs to heart-crushing scenes about finding the love of your life, right? So the tools it uses to set the tone like any other movie. The characters and the soundtrack. First, the characters. Every character in Juno feels like real people you would meet in high school, that one weird mutual friend that you ran into at the thrift store, or that other, I don't know, that's a guy who went to French immersion school. Shout out to other Canadians, but just like these are people that you would just run into. It just like, as over the top as they are like the over the top people in your life, right? Elliot Page is Juno of Trailer Park Boys fame, of course, absolutely owns the role. Juno's like sarcastic, vulnerable, tries to be self-aware, but kind of of fails, and you end up buying every bit of the character, right? Watching it back as an old man now, I just see like Juno is super judgmental, which is something I didn't see at all as a kid. Like Juno has an assessment of everything, like everything has to be judged by her, right? Everything's awesome or it sucks, or she has an opinion on absolutely everything, even if it's not even related to her at all, right? And I never caught that as a kid at all. I never saw her that way. So that's just one of those pieces where you're coming back and watching it and you're like, huh, you know, when I was Juno's age, I was probably the same, I don't know, like way too young to be so jaded, sort of like everything exists to perform in my worldview sort of thing, right? Juno's just a kid trying to sound like they've got it all figured out, and obviously the entire teen pregnancy story has a lot to learn before we're really ready to be real adults, as many other characters in the show also are not ready to be real adults. And Elliot Page just portrays that like flawlessly, I guess effortlessly. It just feels so real. Even the way that all those cheesy one-liners feel forced, it just feels as kind of like cringy and eye-rolling as it probably was intended to be. And Elliot really deserved all the success that came after for that. And Michael Cera, I'm a huge fan of his, but this is probably my favorite role of his too. He's the awkward, nice guy without being like the fedora tipping variety, right? That kind, albeit sort of timid energy immediately makes you want to root for him, or at least I did. It makes you feel invested in his progress. Juno kind of keeps him on the sidelines for the beginning of the movie when they're not really together. They're just sort of, what do the kids say, situationship right now, and he's just patient with her and kind of accepts his place and doesn't want to pressure her, and like you get like invested in wanting to see his like kind demeanor be rewarded, I guess. Speaking of Arrested Development actors, Jason Bateman and Jennifer Gardner as the adoptive parents in this movie, they're amazing, and not necessarily in the like because you like them so much way. Like their story is able to serve as the main plot of the story because their portrayal is so real. I think they don't beat you over the head with the narrative that it's trying to play, or it's not trying to make you feel a certain way about it. It just kind of sees the script for the plot points and how it is, and later on in this video I'll get into spoiler territory where I talk about it, but they really make you feel the positive and negative things towards them. They're just so well played, and there's so many other great characters too. I think like Juno's dad and Juno's stepmom, and there's so many others that I could go on. Every character in this is excellent, and all of the portrayals by their actors are amazing. I mean, there's so many huge actors on here that are so good that it makes me wonder if the meager budget of this film was able to swing above its class just because the script was so good, right? And yeah, it shows in the final product. Anyway, the other part that really sets the tone is the soundtrack. It still slaps. We got to talk about the soundtrack. That mix of Kimya Dawson, that sort of twee aesthetic. Again, half of this show is just trying to find adjectives, but it's just that sort of quirky, humorous, but also like emotionally really vulnerable stuff. There's an interview, I think it was with Diablo Cody, maybe it was with the director, I can't remember, but they basically said that when they were trying to put together the soundtrack for this movie, they're trying to think about it from within the universe itself, I guess. What would be on Juno's iPod in her backpack, right? And they totally nailed it. I saw Kimya Dawson, I want to say in like 2019. The entire audience sat down cross-legged, so people who were shorter were able to see, people who weren't able to stand for the entire show didn't have to stand. That just sort of embodies the sort of twee aesthetic to me, if that makes any sense. And we had that soundtrack on CD growing up. It was probably in the car when I crashed it, as I mentioned earlier, but it was absolutely amazing. And apparently the soundtrack was also a smash success itself. Not just the Moldy Peaches Kimya Dawson songs, but the Sonic Youth and that Barry Lewis song that's in the intro is just like, I don't know, that song just like is Juno, right? It's kind of cute and hokey and a little bit cheesy, but also like, you know, really sad, and you know, you don't know whether to like laugh or cry or both, and this movie will make you do all those things, as does that song to this day. I can't help but look back now and wonder, like, I got really into folk punk for a really long time and I still love it, but I just wonder if I was just such a fan of Mischief Brew and Days and Days and Pat the Bunny and all these bands, like how much of that was sort of, I don't know, the seed was planted with the Juno soundtrack, because yeah, it's like, anyway, check out, if this soundtrack appeals to you and you're looking for something, I don't know, a little more raunch, check out all those bands, or even Neutral Milk Hotel if you want something that's like a little less nasty. I might be preaching to the choir with all those recommendations if you're a big music fan, but anyway, you can't understate how great the songs on the soundtrack were. Okay, at this point, I'm going to give you a spoiler warning. I don't think any of the things I've mentioned so far would kind of negate the experience of watching the movie. There's nothing in there that wasn't in the trailers, I don't believe. But from here on, if you haven't seen Juno, probably go see Juno. I'm going to talk about some plot points and spoil them. So you've been warned. Check out the movie, please. That's the entire point of this video. So rewatching it now, nostalgia and the perspective of watching it now that I'm old, I believe It was funny, I was looking up, I'm like, I don't, Jason Bateman was older, but how old is Mark supposed to be in the movie? And I think he was supposed to be like 32, and I'm like, oh my god, like he's, I'm no longer Juno's age, right? I'm Mark's age. But when I was a kid, when I was Juno's age watching this movie, I thought Mark was so cool. He was the older guy with guitars and the horror movie posters and the epic career in Music Man and all this stuff. And then watching, he was such a radical dude, and Vanessa was such a bitch. And like, as a kid, I could like empathize with Juno and appreciate the plot payoff. And I was like totally rooting for her, but I also like saw the dynamic of the two adoptive parents as like, Mark was cool and Vanessa was just a hag or whatever, right? But rewatching it now, like, Mark's a man-child, and obviously I understand what grooming is and that side of things that I didn't when I was a kid, but straight up, like, Vanessa treats him like a baby because he is one, right? He's a grown-ass dude who wants to seem edgy and creative, but really he's just, like, emotional man-child, and he tries to groom not only a child, but what's essentially, like, this surrogate, right, when he tries to kiss her in the very end. Well, that's a very challenging part of the movie, but what I really like about the movie is it's like a real story, right? It's something that could conceivably happen. It's not a super villain. It's not somebody who's almost like vaudevillain, like Mustache or something, right? It's just a complex story in the real world, and your assessment of Mark as a bad person or not isn't beaten over the head to you, right? When I was a kid, I didn't even see him as the bad person, right? And that really speaks to like how beautiful Juno is as a story, right? On the other hand, Vanessa, the woman who decides to adopt Juno's baby even after the two split, she's the real hero, right? Like back then I thought she was so uptight and whatever, kind of like, which in saying this now I'm drawing parallels to Breaking Bad, how when I was a kid I felt the same way, and then rewatching that as an adult I'm like, wow, like new perspective. You got to do the right thing for people you care about, even if it's not super fun or exciting sometimes, right? And then there's Bleecker, of course, who at least I resonated the most with during the whole movie. He's not flashy or like exceptionally cool. Again, it doesn't like beat you over the head with how you're supposed to feel. It just kind of presents excellent characters and then lets you make those assessments naturally yourself. But obviously I think that's kind of the point. He's someone everyone can resonate, even if you're not awkward and weird like I am. He sort of speaks to everyone's insecurities, I think, right? Even if you are a super outgoing or like confident person, you'd probably still see your insecurities in Bleecker and be like, yeah, I want that guy to win, right? Everybody wants the underdog. In spite of everything that happens, he never really judges Juno. He doesn't try and control her or like get frustrated or jealous. He doesn't take some big moral stand. He just kind of patiently waits for her from the start of the movie, even when he probably shouldn't have. I know he does go to the prom with someone else eventually, or tries to, but I mean, the scene in the end of the movie where she finally realizes how deep her love for him is after talking with her dad about the Mark situation. Yeah, I mean, I was tearing up when I was writing this script. Yeah, like it's just the best love story I can think of. If you can think of a better love story than in Juno, I would love to hear it, because I'd love to see it. Nothing's beaten Juno for me. That final scene of the two of them when they're playing guitar out by UBC in Vancouver, that speaks to all the beauty of the film. Just like, it's not fireworks, it's not explosive, there isn't some extravagant payoff where all of their issues are solved and they win the lottery or something, right? They just find love, they find each other, and they find a path forward. And anyway, and that's more than enough for a happy ending, right? And same goes for Vanessa. In spite of all the circumstances, she finally got what was important to her. And the movie's in a way sort of about like learning about what's important to you, right? And letting go of everything that's not, right? And that includes for Vanessa too, who in a way, let go of the dead weight in her life and gets what she wanted, which is her baby to love, right? Just like Juno and Bleecker love each other. So anyway, thanks for listening to this weird episode of Rambling About. Juno hits even harder now than it did as a kid. It's a great movie that ages with you, and I really would encourage you to check it out. If you thought this video was super weird and I should stick to your rack modules, let me know in the comments. If you want to see some more non-music hardware stuff, let me know in the comments. I kind of have some other video ideas like this one floating around my head that I'm not sure if I want to pursue or not, so let me know what you think in the comments, and watch Juno. Take care.